Hey Bears faithful, let's dive right into the buzz that's been circulating after Albert Breer's latest breakdown. You know Breer, he's one of the most level-headed NFL insiders out there. The kind of analyst who treats Chicago's ups and downs with the same calm, studied approach he'd apply to any franchise. So when he points to the Bears as a possible landing spot for veteran pass rusher Za'Darius Smith, we've got to pay attention. Now, Smith isn't exactly a household name here in Chicago, at least not yet. But his resume demands notice. After splitting last season between Detroit and Cleveland, he still notched 9 sacks. Despite a decade in the league, at 32 years old, that kind of production speaks volumes about his conditioning, his skill set, and his sheer determination to keep performing at a high level. Breer flagged him as the type of edge talent the Bears might target if, after evaluating what they've already got in camp, they feel they need an experienced hand on the front line. Picture this, you've got Dio Dingbo, whom head coach Dennis Allen handpicked after watching him tear up film at the Senior Bowl lining up opposite Montez Sweat. Dingbo impressed in parts of his rookie year, but still has plenty to prove as a full-time starter. Behind him there's Austin Booker and Daniel Hardy, both of whom flash promise, but remain question marks until they secure consistent snaps. That's a lot of young energy, a lot of upside, and a fair share of uncertainty. Enter Za'Darius. He brings the kind of stability and veteran savvy that can anchor a rotation. Think of him as a more polished version of what Andrew Billings gave us last year on the interior. Someone you trust to set a tone, to teach younger players how to win individual matchups, and to step into the rotation without a steep learning curve. Or Smith's size fits the mold that Allen likes on the edge. He's sturdy enough to hold up against the run, yet explosive enough to chase quarterbacks around the pocket. In 15 games for Detroit, he piled up for sacks in just half a season numbers. That helped lift the Lions to a No.1 seed in the NFC, even if the playoff run fell short. Of course, there are trade-offs. You're bringing in a veteran who has already earned a big payday and logged a lot of miles in this sport. His 30+ years are an obvious consideration. How many high-intensity reps does he have left? But when you balance that against a defensive line where depth is sketchy, adding a proven commodity isn't the worst idea. If training camp and the preseason show the young core clicking, the Bears can always pass on it. And that's exactly how the front office wants it. They're not rushing to sign anyone before pads go on. They'll let the existing roster audition first. But if after a couple of preseason outings the edge spots still look shaky, why not bring in a seasoned pro who can fill and immediately mentor the kids and elevate the run defense? Imagine a scenario where after the weeks of camp and maybe 1 or 2 tune-up games, the coaching staff decides that they could use an insurance policy. That's where a guy like Smith becomes very appealing. He wouldn't cost a first-round pick or a haul of draft capital, likely just a moderate free agent deal to shore up the edge, and he'd come with the comfort of knowing he already knows what it takes to thrive in this league under pressure-packed situations. No retooling necessary. I keep coming back to that old saying about building a team. You need stars, young studs, and veterans who can hold the rope when the going gets tough. Breer's mention of Za'Darius Smith checks off that last box perfectly. It doesn't signal a panic move or blockbuster shakeup. It's more like laying a safety net under the existing plan. If Dio and the other youngsters step up, great. You let Smith walk elsewhere. If they falter, you have a ready-made replacement who can absorb snaps without missing a beat. What strikes me most about this approach is its flexibility. It's exactly what you'd expect from a front office trying to blend youth with experience in a cost-effective way. No knee-jerk signings, no overpaying for big names. Just measured additions that can slip into place seamlessly, and if it doesn't make sense by late August or early September, no harm done. You retain that cap space for someone else down the line. So Bears fans, weigh in and let me know how you feel. Would you be on board with adding someone like Za'Darius Smith to the mix? Could his presence push Dio Dingbo to new heights? Would it allow Montez Sweat to rotate more freely, keeping him fresh for late-season runs? Or do you trust the youth movement enough to let the younger guys battle it out? Whatever your thoughts, this is exactly the kind of strategic flexibility you want from an organization that's working to climb back into playoff contention. That about covers the opening conversation Albert Breer sparked. Stick around, because up next we'll dive into the cornerback group, where Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, and Jaquan Brisker have been putting in work this offseason. And yes, we'll address the Tyreek Stevenson question too. But first, let me hear what you think about shore-up moves on the defensive front. Drop your takes in the comments and let's keep this debate rolling all the way to training camp. Coming off that edge rush discussion, let's pivot to what's been happening on the back end with our cornerbacks this offseason, because there's a story There you don't want to miss. Word broke that Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, and Yaquan Brisker have been getting together in Las Vegas, hammering out coverage drills and tuning their footwork. Under the watchful eye of former Seahawks cornerback Tyler Hall, they've also been leaning on trainer Jimmy Johnson, Jalen's brother, to push sleds, run sprints, and simulate press coverage reps designed to replicate the chaos they'll face when the pads go on. What stands out about this kind of player-old workout is that it speaks to a deeper buy-in. These three guys have taken ownership of building the kind of chemistry that can turn a group of athletic talents into a cohesive ball-hawking unit. Under Dennis Allen's regime, you can bet we'll see far more man coverage than we did under Matt Eberflus. And that only accentuates the need for crisp technique and unbreakable communication. You want your cornerbacks anticipating each other's reads, understanding the leverage on every route, and having trust that whoever wins their own matchup has help over the top. Getting those reps together now before the pads are on could be the difference between giving up chunk plays and creating game-changing turnovers. Of course, no conversation about these Vegas workouts would be complete without addressing the curious absence of Tyrique Stevenson. A lot of speculation flew when his name didn't pop up on the workout invites. Some fans have begun to whisper that perhaps he was omitted on purpose, but I'd caution against reading too much into it. It's the off-season. Players have families, personal responsibilities, even specialized trainers in different parts of the country. Unless we hear from Stevenson himself or the Bears put out an official statement, let's presume there was no slight intended, just life happening outside the bounds of coordinated team sessions. In any event, Jalen, Kyler, and Yaquan appear to be locked in, and that continuity could translate into a secondary that finally lives up to its billing. Now, after chewing through the cornerback buzz, I want to turn your attention to the interior defensive line. Recently, a piece from Bears Goggles posed an intriguing scenario. Third-round pick Zacch Pickens, entering his third season, could find himself battling for snaps behind the likes of Javon Davis and Drew Billings and a newcomer in Shamar Turner, the former Texas A&M run stopper the Bears scooped up in the second round of the 2025 draft. By all accounts, Turner has the quick jump off the ball to plug gaps and make life miserable for opposing runners. Meanwhile, Billings remains the stalwart veteran whose 8 seasons of physicality have earned him the reputation as one of the league's most reliable inside disruptors. Pickens, on the other hand, flashed in spurts as a rookie but battled a groin injury last year and didn't quite make the leap many anticipated. His career numbers through to season's 39 tackles, 1.5 sacks to tackles for loss are serviceable, but for a third-rounder, you'd like to see more than serviceable. The question then becomes whether Pickens can earn a roster spot when you have Turner, Billings, Javon Davis, and even Grady Jarrett rotating through the lineup. Will the front office pull the trigger on an early season cut? If Pickens looks out of step in camp, history suggests Ryan Poles isn't in a hurry to jettison his own draft picks, but the NFL's ruthless competition ensures someone waiting in the wings ready to pounce if Pickens falters. That tension, though uncomfortable for young players, is ultimately a win for the team at large. Training camp thrives on competition. You pit each man against his shadow, force everyone to raise their level of play. If Pickens can't carve out a role amid rising talents and established veterans, then the Bears will have to find someone else to step up. Either way, you build a deeper, more battle-tested group. So while it's easy to root for the underdog, I'm also excited to see how Pickens responds when the volume turns up. It may be the crucible he needs to fully unlock his potential. Let's move into our mailbag, because the questions and comments you've sent in have been firing up some of the best conversations we've had all season. First up, we heard from Darius in Dallas, who homed in on what he calls the negative spin the Chicago sports media inevitably puts on every rookie. He pointed out that people will be quick to label Colston Loveland a bust if he averages 2 or 3 catches per game, and he implored us to temper expectations. Darius reminded us that even seasoned veterans like Cole Kmet have untapped potential under the right scheme, a sentiment supported by Hall of Famer Jimmy Graham's off-season training sessions with the tight end community. As hard as it is to hear, Darius is right about one thing: this market thrives on quick judgments, and Bears fans can be overly reactionary. Here's my take: yes, the media often chases clicks with hyperbole, but it also falls upon us, the analysts and the audience, to put those hot takes into perspective. Colston Loveland is entering a situation with new play callers and fresh offensive schemes. And though he flashed at Notre Dame, he'll need time to adjust to the speed and complexity of the NFL. I remain optimistic that Matt Eberflus and Ben Johnson's play designs can unleash his raw athleticism, but if he struggles early, let's remember that Even franchise cornerstones have rocky rookie seasons. This isn't a crowbar to pry open the narrative, it's a reminder that patience with developmental players pays dividends down the road. Next, Xavier called in with a fiery defense of Caleb Williams, bristling at comparisons of his upside to Jordan Love or his floor as a bust. Xavier laid out the numbers from Williams' historic collegiate season. Over 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, and just half a dozen interceptions, and contrasted them with Love's rookie output. He argued that critics are stoking outrage for its own sake, when the real story is how quickly Williams is absorbing Ben Johnson's offense. Xavier isn't alone in his frustration. Whenever a quarterback steps on the field in Chicago, the cynics come out ready to anoint him a savior or a failure before he even throws his first preseason pass. Here's where I stand. We've seen too many quarterback prospects overwhelmed by bad scheming, leaky protection, and coaching instability. Williams's talent is undeniable, but let's give him a fair shake under an innovative playbook and steady support from his teammates. If he throws for 4,000 yards and dishes out 30 touchdowns, the doubters will have to eat crow. Until then, we'll grade him on film, not on sound bites. Then we heard from Keys in Atlanta, who asked whether it might make sense for the Bears to pursue Giants edge defender Kayvon Thibodeaux in a trade. Keys pointed to Thibodeaux's mix of length, burst, and production in New York as evidence he'd be an upgrade over an unproven Dio Dingbo. I love the creative thinking here, but it comes with caveats. Thibodeaux is under contract in New York, likely at a premium cap figure, and the Giants would demand significant draft compensation for his rights. Meanwhile, Dingbo still has 2 years on a team-friendly deal that the coaches believe in. If the Bears were in desperate need of an all-world pass rusher, sure, you'd explore it. But given the cap constraints and the depth chart as it stands, it's more realistic to scout under Theodore free agent signings or homegrown breakouts. These are the kinds of hypotheticals that get fans excited, but in practical terms, it's an uphill climb to swap for a young star on another team's roster without mortgaging the future. Finally, white boy Larry from Florida sent in one of the warmest messages we've had. He praised the show's concise, information-packed format, marveled at how often we get inside his brain on Bears topics, and even laughed along at our occasional Teddy Roosevelt moments when we absolutely roast other talking heads. To Larry, I say thank you. Our goal has always been to talk straight, to dig deeper than the headlines, and to treat this channel like a family gathering where each guest brings their own bias, but we all leave richer for the conversation. Your validation means we're on the right path, and we promise to keep delivering that mix of unfiltered analysis, heartfelt fandom, and the occasional savage takedown when someone deserves it. That brings us to the end of our second segment. I hope this deep dive into the secondary's off-season grind, the defensive lean chess match, and our listeners' burning questions has given you plenty to think about as we edge ever closer to training camp. Remember, this is your show as much as it is ours. Drop your thoughts, your wild trade ideas, or your quarterback comparisons in the comments or via voicemail, and we'll tackle them next time. Until then, keep your pads ready, your enthusiasm high, and as always, Chi-Town up, Bear down. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy, drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. There's a growing buzz around Hollis Hall, and it's got everything to do with the possibility of Josh Sweat suiting up in navy and orange. While nothing is official, league insiders are whispering about a potential move by the Chicago Bears to bring in the dynamic edge rusher from Philadelphia as part of their ongoing defensive overhaul. After a season that saw flashes of potential but lacked consistent pressure on opposing quarterbacks, it's no secret that the Bears are looking to upgrade their pass rush. And with Sweat's name making the rounds in recent trade and free agency chatter, Chicago could be positioning itself for a bold move. The 27-year-old defensive end, known for his explosive first step and ability to disrupt the pocket, might just be the piece Matt Eberflus and GM Ryan Poles are missing to complete their front seven puzzle. Sweat, who has been a steady contributor for the Eagles in recent seasons, could be looking for a fresh start, and the Bears might be ready to offer it. Though he's still under contract, there have been rumblings in Philadelphia about cap space and potential defensive restructuring, making Sweat a plausible trade target. Chicago, armed with cap flexibility and a clear need for an elite edge rusher opposite Montez Sweat, appears to be monitoring the situation closely. Adding Josh Sweat to the roster would not only bolster the Bears' pass rushing capabilities, but also signal their intent to contend in a competitive NFC North. Pairing him with Montez Sweat could create one of the more feared edge duos in the conference. If the stars align, at this point it's all speculation, but the noise is growing louder. Whether it's just smoke or the beginning of something bigger remains to be seen. Still, if you're a Bears fan dreaming of a reinvigorated defense, the idea of Josh Sweat bringing the heat off the edge is hard to ignore. Stay tuned. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.